Hi everybody, it's April. I'm going to be doing 3 cards with 1 stamp set today. This is a collaboration with Jude at Hey Jude Cards, and I will link her video below. Also, if this stamp set is still available from Ellen Hutson, I will also provide that link below. So this is the stamp and die set that she created to raise money for Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And you can use it for all sorts of things. It has some really wonderful sentiment. It has this ribbon die, and it has coordinating dies that cut out a sword, a crown, a whole bunch of flowers. So it's very versatile. The first card I decided to make was an autism support card for my cousin. She and I both have autistic children, so I thought I would make her a card. And I know she's going through some things right now as well, so I wanted to make a card for her. And so I didn't have a puzzle die or anything like that to use. I just printed off an image on some cheap, copy paper and adhered it to heavyweight cardstock. So if, you ever want to create something that you don't have what you need, go to Google, print it out. You could probably print it out on some heavyweight cardstock, but I just prefer to do it this way. And I was out of my tape runner, so that's why you see me doing this the hard way with score tape. But I cut that ribbon die out, and it's going to be just fine, just attaching the copy paper to some heavyweight cardstock. I didn't want to use wet glue because that warps in, copy paper is so thin. So the sentiment that I chose to use is "Your battle is my battle," and I also die cut out this sword that came in the kit, and I believe that is on some gold glitter paper. I was really trying to figure out what colors would go well together because they're actually very primary colors, and I don't have a lot of primary in my stash, so it was a little bit difficult for me to find things that matched, but that's why I went with the Wow embossing powder, because it's a pretty bright, genuine red. So I'm going to die cut that sentiment out using an Avery L rectangular die. I switched to the A2 size card front, like I mentioned. The beginning I had A6 cards out, but the ribbon die wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be, so it was fine to use an A2 size card. And that's going to be 5.5 by 4.25. I cut my card panel with the Simon Says Stamp Stitch rectangular frame. And so I'm going to just adhere my sentiment with some 3M foam tape, and then I'll attach that sword above the sentiment. I'm also going to struggle putting this ribbon die up on foam, but I will pop that ribbon die up as well on the card front. So I really thought this stamp and die set was, very, like I said, very versatile. You could use it for any kind of support. Obviously, having the ribbon die means that you could cut out any ribbon in any color, any theme, really in any design for whatever you would like to send someone a support card for. I'm not sure if there are, groups out there that certain different foundations may, a lot of people do cards for donation. There's just a ton of things that you could use a stamp and die set for besides just friends or family that that have certain things that you want to let them know, hey, I hear you, I see you, I understand your struggles, and just want to let you know that I care. I personally could use this for a lot of people that I know for different things, but I chose this one to start with because autism is so close to my heart and part of my house and my life, so I just thought this would be a perfect one to start with. So, excuse me, I'm taking some enamel dots, also in primaries. I did not have a blue, but so I kind of struggled a little bit because I wanted to use the same colors that are on the ribbon die. But I wound up just using red, yellow, and green, and if I had blue, I would have thrown some blue on there. But, it just gives you an idea of some designs you could come up with, nothing fancy here. Just, I really struggled, to be honest with you, on designs. The only card I really had an idea what I wanted to do was the one at the end. So I'm going to stamp the back of my card like I always do. And the inside sentiment is our title of the video, which is "Life is Tough, but so are you." So I just love that sentiment. I think it's, it's true on many accounts, no matter what's going on. Don't forget that you're tough. Okay, so that's card 1. And yeah, so I'm going to use that sword on the inside as well. And that's card 1. The next card I decided to make is going to be a watercolor piece, but I couldn't find my regular Canson XL watercolor. This image here and this sentiment here just really inspired me with the colors and the circle of women that surround us. And so this card is in honor of all you beautiful women out there that are just so supportive, and I just love this community where we all support each other. And so this one is really not going to use anything except for some watercoloring and a sentiment. And this is just going to be a support card for women, supporting women. So this one, like I said, I really love the color scheme, and it just thought these images were so beautiful. I love that quote. I'll probably write it down and link it down in the description if you want to actually read the quote in full. I tried to hold it on the screen a little bit, but everything's fast forwarded because there's 3 cards to get to. If you have any questions about items I used or techniques or anything like that, please leave me a comment down below. I apologize, but I do have to speed these videos up so they're not so long. But yeah, so I'm trying to just kind of get the impression of that background. You see this, and this is again just some images I printed off of Google. And so yeah, I'm trying to get the same look, and just using that Jane Davenport palette I just purchased at Michael's. So I'll let that dry off. I used the heat gun to dry it off, and then really dried it off so I could heat emboss on it. So I just cut it down a little bit so it would fit in the mini Misty. And then I'm going to use VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'm going to use that Courage sentiment. And that's pretty much what I'll do with this card, is make that the, focus of the front of the card. And just going to use some anti-static just in case the paper is still moist. This was a mixed media paper, so it was very textured, and it was really warped, to be honest with you. So I had to stamp this probably 3 or 4 times to get it to actually stamp. But, that's expected sometimes with textured papers. So if you have a stamp positioner, then I would recommend you use that. So yeah, it's a really beautiful sentiment talking about courage, and I thought it went well with how everybody is so supportive in our community, how we each, try to keep each other lifted. And so that's the one I went with, but you could really use any sentiment in the stamp set, So yeah, and I also wanted to utilize the flowers in the stamp set just to show you how these layering stamps work. I personally didn't take the time to really make sure the flowers were lined up on the layering. I just, was like, all right, I'm just going to go with the flow, using my Distress Oxides, trying to get similar colors that are on the front panel that I was showing you there in the watercoloring. So kind of oranges, there's a little bit of green and blue hints and purple in it. So that's why I picked out these oxide inks. But oxide inks really stamp solid, so I appreciated that, and I wanted, colors that would kind of match. So that's just why I picked these. But I'm showing you here some of these images that I'm going to be stamping that are layered. That just do what you got to do and get it done. Like the next one you'll see here, I'm not going to line it up. I'm just going to stamp it and not care. I want to be creative. I don't want to get stressed out trying to line up layering stamps. So, but if you have the time and you have the patience, go for it. Line them up. I thought they turned out okay. It's probably not the right way to do them, but yeah. So I'm just following the directions on the stamp set. They're kind of lined up next to each other to show you what what goes with what flower. And so that's it there. I'm using the next one. And that second one that I did, the layer, was I tried to do it with the same color orange, and it didn't show up. So I used Festive Berries on top of that oxide ink. And then I went in with walnut stain for the kind of inner part, and then this one is the black soot for the actual little prongs that come out of the center. So now moving on to the rose, I really wasn't happy with that fossilized amber in the oxide. So I'm going to use the fossilized amber in the distress, the regular distress, and it kind of gives you a tone on tone, but carved pumpkin is what I'm going to use here to try to go over it, give it a little bit more depth. And it's okay. I don't really like the colors, but I do use it, so it was fine for me because I really kind of in the end wanted to go with more of the oranges on this card. And I'm going to use that little center dot for the rose, and I think if I would have done this again, I would have done the rose in actual rose colors. I think that would have been pretty. And then this little purple flower is so cute. I really liked how this one turned out. I'll zoom in here in a second to show you, but super cute. So yeah, and then I'm also going to work on the leaves. And actually, I didn't use one of these purple flowers. Yeah, I'm just showing you these little tiny things that they give you the littlest details here for your flowers. Super cute. But I didn't wind up using the purple ones on this card. And then I'm going to do the same with the leaves, and I think I'm using that walnut stain again. So I stamped all the base images in the Distress Oxide, but I'm using the regular Distress inks for my layered parts. So I'll die cut all that out, and it's going to take me probably 30 minutes. And then my stitched frame here on the card panel, I'll use some adhesive foam, fun foam, because again, this was just so warped that it needed a full panel on the back. So that's what I'm doing here. And then you can kind of see I have a layout going there of what I decided I wanted to use. So I'll only use the orange and the yellowish colored flowers and the leaves. And I just thought it went better. I also picked out some MFT, I don't know what color cardstock it is, like the name of it, but it's just an orange cardstock that I had gotten in a kit a long time ago. So I cut that down to A2 size, stamped the back of my card, and then I'm going to mess around with putting these flowers on the front. And to be honest with you, I really had a hard time with my hands. I know you can't tell because it's going so fast, but my hands were really, really shaking. So I was having a really difficult time getting the backing off of these things, and just in general, I was really having a hard time. So I didn't notice that I had covered up the sentiment here on the left, and you'll see I will notice it in a second. See how it's covering up part of that sentiment. I didn't realize I had gotten so far over. But then I'll notice here and try to move everything over a little bit. Not too much, but enough that it wasn't right on top of the sentiment. It still is. I should have rearranged it differently, but this is how it came out. And then over on this side, I kind of messed up again too, and you'll see me move all that around. But in the end, I kind of like the layout. So, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to bring in another yellow on the right. And then I was like, oh no, I have 2 and 2. So I felt like it was too many pairs, like everything was paired up. So, which you don't want, you want odd numbers. So that's why I only left just the one flower, the yellow flower on the page. And then I'll cut this leaf down that's bugging me and tuck it under. And that's going to be card 2. And I don't believe I stamped a sentiment on the inside of this card. So, since it's meant for women, supporting women. And then the last one is this was the only one that I kind of had a vision of where I wanted this card to go. It says, using the life is tough, but so are you sentiment. I'm going to cut down, it's a really beautiful, like linen type textured pink cardstock. And I couldn't find my scoreboard, so I'm going to use this score marker on this cutting, this cutting tool that I have. So that's going to be my card base. And so again, the direction of this card changed. I had an image that I printed out initially that I wanted to do support card for fibromyalgia. So there's that. It was a Google image I printed out, and my idea behind it was to do the cascade of butterflies that come out from behind the ribbon. So I taking this paper pad, picking out some like grays and some purples, but in the end I didn't have enough of a variety of butterflies, like the size of the butterflies. So I switched everything up again. Things changed, and I found this little stamp in a butterfly, but it really is so close in size that it wasn't going to give me the look I was going for. I really wanted that cascade of large to small butterflies. But since I couldn't do that, I wound up changing the card to basically represent what the whole stamp set is for. I thought we need to do one here that is actually for breast cancer awareness. So I switched up my ribbon to a pink ribbon for breast cancer support. And on the front, I'm going to stamp with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, "Life is tough, but so are you," on the pattern paper. So I just cut the pattern paper from that paper pad down with the stitch rectangular frame. And I'm going to use the pink sentiment to match the, I'm going to use the pink ribbon again for breast cancer and to match my card base. I did cut it out of the same type of cardstock, so it matches perfectly. So I'm going to adhere the card panel here, and then I'm going to pop up the ribbon. And so I wound up using, I had that Martha Stewart butterfly punch, and I used the butterfly from the, I think it was Artsy, was that stamp set that had matching dies. That I'm going to use those two type of butterflies and try to see about doing that same cascade, but it doesn't work out that way. And then I'll pull in, so I'm just going to use the Artsy butterfly, and then I'm going to use the purple flowers left over from the last card. And this didn't really turn out the way I wanted at all, but I added some little pearl gems to the center of the flowers, and I thought that added a little bit of a nice touch. So yeah, and then I'm going to stamp the inside with the sentiment from the kit. But if I wasn't just wanting to stick to the stamp set, I think on the inside of this one I would have used my Save the Tatas. I would have used that sentiment. So anyhow, but I was trying to stick just strictly to this stamp set. But I was like, oh man, I should have used my Save the Tatas stamp set I got from Unity. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for your support and always for your encouragement. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that it gave you some ideas if you do have this stamp set. And don't forget, you can always go and just Google and research images online. I'm going to do a little recap here at the end of all 3 cards that I made. And just leave me a comment down below, like and subscribe if you're new. I wanted to say hello to all my new subscribers as well. I just want to let you know how much you mean to me and your support means to me. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And so the inside of this card is going to read, "I'm so happy you're a survivor. So glad you are a survivor." So here's the 3 cards. This is Women Supporting Women. This is for breast cancer. And this is for autism. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.